Money, power, respect. A review of the U.S. political spectrum and beyond. I'm Professor Jermaine Harris, and I would like to discuss power in the United States and in the world. First and foremost, who is truly in charge? Who really holds the power in this country? First, you get the money, which buys you power, and power garners respect. We all are in school so we can get the money, which grants us at least spending power. With our degrees and our titles and the fact that we are able to afford a luxury car, we go for the respect. This is playing out in most households and boardrooms across America today. We struggle to fight just to eventually own a home. The American dream. But is that it? Is that the ultimate goal? Some of us will say that financial independence is all that we need from a material standpoint. I hope most of us will place a high priority on friends, family, love, and spiritual connections in order to fulfill individual purpose. Darwinism is an ideology that this world is competitive and only the strong survive. So you better learn to swim or you will sink. Some societies believe in a communal way of life, where we love thy neighbor and injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. Here are some of the options available regarding the country's power structure. Totalitarianism. This is a government controlled by one person, a dictator, who has the ultimate power and control over country's assets in its entirety. Authoritarianism, government by a few, usually one party, such as the Nazi Party, or government by one religious organization, such as the Taliban in Afghanistan prior to the U.S. invasion. Military takeovers and military coups of governments are normally authoritarian, also known as oligarchies. Democracy, governance by many through representation. Democracy in theory allows most citizens to participate in the government's decisions by way of vote, yet be free from government tyranny. Corporatocracy, government is controlled by corporate interests that uses lobbyists, campaign contributions, or bribery to force their political way upon lawmakers. Plutocracy, like corporatocracy, yet the wealthy few of the country has a disproportionate power, access, and influence in power distribution. In each of these possible systems of power, we can obviously see where the true power lies. My question to you is, how would you describe the American power system? Another dimension of U.S. power struggle is the left versus the right, the liberal movement versus the conservative values party. This fight can be summarized by the fight between government powers versus corporate power. This is also referred to as public versus private ownership. To take a step back and see the long view, we shall start way to the very left of the political spectrum. Communism, where government owns and controls 100% of assets of the spectrum, and we find Marxism. Marxism is many different versions. Named after philosopher Karl Marx, it is an ideology that is derived from the wealthy landowners and company owners who eventually be revolted against by the majority population, which serve or work for the enrichment of that select few. Ownership of said assets would eventually fall into the control of the majority workers, and they will split the ownership of these assets equally among them. Socialism is a social and economic system characterized by social ownership of the means of production and cooperative management of the economy. Take one more step to the right on the political spectrum, social democrats. Found to the left end of the modern European political spectrum, social democrats have advocated for a peaceful and evolutionary transition of the economy to socialism through progressive social reform of capitalism. One more step to the right, and we enter into the left end of the U.S. spectrum, U.S. liberals. Their philosophy is that government should play a substantial role in leveling the playing field for citizens who may be disadvantaged. The opposed advantage is represented by those who benefit from the current power structure. These persons benefit from established institutions of higher education, corporate interests, laws, and loopholes that create an advantage in conserving wealth and privilege. U.S. conservatives are at the right end of the political spectrum that believes in reducing the size, power, and scope of government to a minimum in order to reduce inefficiencies and reduce taxation that often goes towards causes of equalization that goes against conservative economic social values. An additional step toward the right on the political spectrum is libertarianism. This thought is exhibited with the Tea Party movement. This mistrusting group are highly focused against government increase. They feel that government roles should be at a bare minimum. Next is monarchism, where a royal bloodline rules lands according to the bloodline and the dominant ownership of a high percentage of the country's assets. This philosophy is based in classism, where bloodlines have caste that determine one's limit of advancement. To the right of this is Nazi and fascism, where people believe in superiority that justifies power and control of countries held by a very few selective people to the exclusion of the masses. The further to the right we move on the spectrum, the smaller government should theoretically be. Yet interestingly enough, both ends of the spectrum have hints of slavery and freedom in the middle of the spectrum. Specifically to the United States political spectrum, the left-wing liberals claim to focus on progressive access and equal rights to the pursuits of liberty by creating a system that encourages access to the masses. The right-wing conservatives tend to be the voice of corporate interests whose priority is to maintain the power structure that currently exists. A reduction in taxation, reducing the power and impact of government, a reduction in the government power to regulate corporate operations and interests allows for increased corporate profiteering, which has historically led to an increase in the wealth gap and an increased risk of economic collapse. These are just a few of the economic conservative issues of the day, but conservatives are also divided between economic and social conservatives. Social conservatives are more concerned with lifestyle choices. They often are against abortion rights, gay rights, and rights to equal access to certain institutions in order to preserve their way of life and their moral standing over and above those who may have a contradictory lifestyle choice. So this concludes the snapshot of the political power spectrum within our world. Feel free to think about it, analyze it, compare and contrast it, and come up with your own questions and concerns concerning money, power, and respect.